Hey guys, this is a video for my History Through Biography class. We had to choose a biography to read and critique, and I chose Jane Austen, A Life by Carol Shields. Here are a few facts about our dear Jane. Jane was born December 16, 1775, to parents George and Cassandra Austen. Jane had 6 brothers and 1 sister. She lived at Steventon Rectory in North Hampshire, England, where her father was the rector and ran a boarding school for boys from the family home. When Jane was 7, she was sent away with her sister Cassandra to Oxford to be educated, but they soon became sick with a fever and had to return home. Jane was sent away again at the age of 9 to the Abbey School in Reading, where she engaged in such intellectual pursuits as needlework, dancing, and drawing. Her and her sister were not there long, for the school soon closed its doors to females. Shield notes a sense of abandonment every time Jane was sent away from the family home. Jane also felt a loss of freedom as she had no say in these decisions, and that was something that stayed with her for her entire life. From the age of about 11, Jane began to educate herself. She accomplished this largely through reading many of the books in her father's library. The Austen family embraced the novel and never restricted Jane's reading. However, when Jane was 20, she met her neighbor's nephew, Tom Lefroy. They knew each other for about 2 weeks, and both appeared to be quite smitten. Lefroy's family swiftly removed him from the picture when they realized the attachment, and the two never met again. Jane received her only marriage proposal when she was 27 from her longtime neighbor Harris Bigwether. It would have been an advantageous match, and she hastily accepted. Now 24 hours later, possibly under the advisement of her sister, she withdrew her promise. This is something that she regretted from time to time throughout her life. Jane published 4 books in her life: Sense and Sensibility, Pride and Prejudice, Mansfield Park, and Emma. Her last 2 novels, Northanger Abbey and Persuasion, were published shortly after her death. She died, probably of breast cancer, on July 28, 1817, at the age of 42. Though the second youngest, she was the first of her siblings to die. This is a literary biography. Because of this, Shields draws heavily on the novels of Jane Austen. Jane is a bit of a mystery, and all that is known about her comes from surviving letters to her sister and friends, many of which were destroyed by her sister upon her death, a memoir written by her nephew many years after her death, and of course, her novels. Shields pays great attention to the heroines of Austen novels. She draws parallels between the characters and Jane. For example, there is the ever-particular Fanny Price from Mansfield Park. Like Jane, she was very moralistic. There is also Elizabeth Bennet from Pride and Prejudice, who is strong-minded and intellectual like Jane. Shields shows that Jane longed for independence, and her way of achieving that would be through marriage, as it would remove her from her parents' care. She was never able to find the independence she sought, but every one of her leading ladies got there happily ever after. She is also very adamant in pointing out that Jane was not socially absent as many believed her to be. Jane loved friends and family, and kept correspondence with many people throughout her short life. I enjoyed this book quite a lot, but as a biography it was just okay. Shields is given to tangents and at times spends pages describing the city of Bath and whole chapters summarizing the plots of Jane's novels. There is little information known about Jane, and Shields does present all the facts she could find. Also, there is no real timeline established throughout the book, and Shields tends to move through time in a non-linear fashion. This makes the book a bit confusing, as things get repeated and overlapped, and it's hard to keep people straight, and dates are difficult to distinguish. Shields is an award-winning novelist, and that is probably the style she is best suited to. This is her only biography, and while it isn't bad, it is somewhat disjointed. I did like that she tried to look at Jane objectively. It is clear that Shields is a great fan of Austen, but she doesn't let that cloud her revelation of the woman she believed Jane truly was. Overall, it was a good read and presented an empathetic view of Jane. It's not the best biography I've read, but it gets the job done.